A new exhibit opening at the Topeka and Shawnee County Public Library shares the stories and history of Negro Leagues baseball. Zan Pop is here to preview the exhibit. It is called Shades of Greatness. We appreciate you being here.
Thanks for having us today.
There are so many stories associated with the Negro Leagues, and of course around here we tend to be very familiar and take great ownership because of some of the folks that we've known in our history, because the museum is just over in Kansas City. What does this exhibit aim to do, and what is all included?
So this exhibit is a slightly different take on the history. Normally when you go into a baseball museum exhibit, you think timelines, stories, objects, kind of really like base bit memorabilia. This is art inspired by the history of the Negro League. So the museum had about 25 amazing artists go in, learn about the history, take tours, meet players, ask questions, dive into the history, and then recreate works of art that tell that story visually. So you've got stunning paintings and prints, some sculptural work that all, as you get pulled in, you start to see the story of the artist's interpretation and then the history with it. So it's just a different take on this baseball history.
How many items are part of the exhibit?
Oh, it's about 35, and they're all amazingly strong works of art.
Was this artwork commissioned specifically for an exhibit like this, or were these pieces found from all over and brought together? How did it come to be?
That's a great question. So this actually is a touring exhibit from the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum in Kansas City. So they put it together. We are just hosting it. And so they went through and found artists and then introduced them to the museum and then created this wonderful exhibit of 35 strong pieces.
And it is very, very different artwork. Like you see the chairs here. That's part of the exhibit, the large paintings.
Yes. And this is a little piece, kind of a found art to Satchel Paige. This is a wonderful one, Low and Outside. This is a great piece by Kadir Wilson. This is a great large piece of Satchel Paige. There's just so much that you see. This is one of my favorite pieces, Kadir Wilson. This is a piece, this also is by Kadir Wilson, telling the history of Foster. There's just some really amazing work that, as you can see, I'm jumping all around because the pieces just pull you in. But Kadir Nelson is one of the 3 featured pieces in the exhibit who just really embody. There's an energy and a momentum in his work. You can actually feel Satchel Paige pitching, and you just see the statuesque quality of that wonderful man.
What sorts of things will accompany the exhibit itself at the library? So
we open tomorrow at 5 o'clock for our opening reception. We'll have a little bit of light jazz from the Topeka Jazz Workshop. Will send us a trio, some light music. Then March 4th, which is a Saturday, we are going to do a little Take Me Out to the Ball Game, story time craft. At noon, we'll have the great speaker Bob Kendrick, who's also the president of the Negro League Baseball Museum, come and speak to us as well. Let's see, there is Phil Dixon will be here in April. We have a couple of authors throughout March that'll be speaking. So there's a lot of great different storytellers that will explain and tell us the story of the Negro League.
And these activities and the things that will be happening in conjunction with the exhibit, not just for adults.
Not just for adults,
How are you
of course not.
Kids?
So for that March 4th, we'll have a story time, we'll have a craft, and of course, as you know, when you come into the Sabatini Gallery, in the Reed Studio just off to your left, there's always some sort of wonderful activity for the littles and the bigs. And so we'll have a couple of different art projects that relate to the actual exhibit, so you can kind of do a little bit. I think the first one we're doing is origami. We're making little shirt origami, and you can decorate your own jersey.
Fantastic. So that's the way all ages can get involved and appreciate art and also appreciate history. You know, if your kid's a sports fan and you're trying to get them interested in some other things, this is a great exhibit to do that. Shades of Greatness is at the Topeka and Shawnee County Public Library, opening the 25th through May 7th. The opening reception is tomorrow night from 5 to 8:30, as Zan mentioned, and you're invited to come dressed to the nines. They have this at the K every year for one of the Royals games. Dress up like they used to do when they went to the ball game.
When baseball was this idea of, you know, you went and you showed who you were, but also you showed the pride of the community at these games.
I love it. Go check out the exhibit. Zan, thanks so much for the little introduction to it. We appreciate that.